8:17 now. Las Vegas and Elvis, they just go together. Can you believe he passed at just 42 years old? Ever since then, a ton of misconceptions about his life, and we have an author who has done her research, especially doing some myth busting for us this morning. It's Sally Hoedel, author of Elvis, Destined to Die Young, joining us live. Sally, let's start with fact number one. Thank you for being here. But most people believe that Elvis had bad health because of his lifestyle. Maybe partially true, but the fact is he had poor genes. His maternal grandparents were first cousins. Even though that fact had been out there before, someone like me, I'm hearing it for the first time, and boy, is it eye-opening.
Yeah, first, thank you for having me on. It's always great to talk Elvis, and no better place than Las Vegas, right? Yeah. So yeah, I've researched and written this book, and one of the big, false assumptions out there is that all of Elvis's health issues in his last couple of years come from the prescription medication problem. And with my research, we did discover that his maternal grandparents were first cousins, and that leads to a lot of trouble within his tree. And we see it with his mother, who dies at age 46, and she has 3 siblings who die in their 40s and one in their early 50s as well. And then with Elvis dying at 42, it certainly stops being a coincidence. And by the time he passes in 1977, he has disease or disorder in 9 of the 11 systems of the body. And again, often written off because of the prescription medication. But my research shows that at least 5 of those were present prior to fame, most likely since birth, most likely genetic in nature, due to that first cousin marriage, most likely.
Sally, this is amazing. I love that we have all these facts to go through. His story is usually viewed as one of self-destruction. That's not true. Your research shows that his story is clearly one of survival, and it's because of first poverty, then unprecedented fame, and then back to those serious health ailments. What else have you discovered through your research?
Yes, and all 3 of those are so important because Elvis's story, looking at it as one of survival instead of self-destruction, it makes his story even better. What he had to overcome, and the way his story really epitomizes the American dream is captured even more when you look at it through this historical lens. And for so long, for decades, right, he's been looked at through the lens of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's just not enough for Elvis because he's not just a rock and roll star; he's a historical figure. So many false assumptions, of course, follow him because he is so iconic. It's from his health issues, the drug problems, women, his eating, of course. Everybody always thinks of him as such a glutton, but he was one of the most generous people, and people who really know his story know that he gave away 200 cars and much more than that. So if he was indulgent, he absolutely shared it as well.
Well, and I love that you brought that up because he was not a glutton at all. He was quite the giver. Some people maybe didn't even realize, depending on what they know about Elvis, that he enlisted in the Army and he also served our country.
Absolutely. Elvis was a patriot, and he wanted to give back. He knew that this country was, the only place at the time where hard work and what happened to him could happen, to come from such extreme poverty. And, in 1956, he's known the world over. Like, he knew the only place that could happen was here in the United States, and he was grateful for that and wanted to give back.
And Sally, another thing that I feel like I've heard throughout the years, but again, through your research, you're able to do some myth busting. I thought he was a recluse at the end of his life, pretty much holed up in Graceville there in his mansion. But you're saying not so fast. He was touring quite a lot before he passed away.
He tours so much in the 70s, and every year is, almost more. And as you know, from the time in Las Vegas, he's doing 2 shows a day and for 30 days straight. And that does get cut down, in the last couple of years because it's really hard for him to handle. But then when he leaves Las Vegas, he's going on tour, crisscrossing the country for weeks at a time. And again, often doing 2 shows a day. And we see his health issues, his health declines as the touring increases. So yeah, he was not a Howard Hughes, and he was not this, depressed creature at the end that everybody wants to make him out to be. He did spend more time at Graceland, and he spent more time in his room, and it really was because he was very sick. Again, disease and disorder in 9 of the 11 systems of the body.
Wow, Sally, we're only on until 9 o'clock this morning. I could talk with you. It's 8:20 right now. For the rest of the hour, my producer is saying I'm not allowed to do that. So how can people get your book? And we're going to put all this information online as well. But great Christmas present. How can they get it?
Absolutely. ElvisAuthor.com is a great place. Those books are signed, and there's more information about the research and everything there. And of course, it's on Amazon as well. So.
Well, Sally Hoedel, thank you for giving us even more perspective on the history of our city, including Elvis Presley. We really appreciate it. Happy holidays. Thank you for coming on, and we will be right back.
Thank you.